AVS Media Demo.
So I wanted to give everybody an overview of exactly kind of what we're doing. And so I thought it might be relevant to give you an idea of my background. I'm a fashion photographer based in New York City, but I wasn't always a fashion photographer.
AVS Media Demo.
Small portrait studio in upstate New York. It was a small town, a few thousand people, which probably some of you relate to this. When you're in that small town, there's not really the niche market, as everybody says in all the business.
AVS Media Demo.
Have a focus. With a few thousand people, you need to photograph newborns and engagement sessions and weddings and high school senior portraits and everything. And when you're doing this, the people want you to make them look your best. And okay, so you kind of...
AVS Media Demo.
You got that, because that somehow is universal to everything, some of those ideas. And then, okay, you figure out what lens choice, I kind of piece those together. But when it comes to posing, I was like, okay, I have no idea where to start.
AVS Media Demo.
The part is I didn't know what I was looking for. What makes a good pose, what makes a bad pose? And so that's some of the things that I'll talk about as well. What are you actually looking for? Half the time, I've actually looked at some people's contact sheets.
AVS Media Demo.
That's a much better pose. It's actually a matter of even picking the wrong one. And so really, when I'm posing, I'm taking my time, I'm thinking, and I'm not getting stressed out. So that's what I'm going to encourage everyone else to do.
AVS Media Demo.
Today's focus is all about the basic essentials. The do's and don'ts. I have a whole series of do this, don't do this. And if you've seen me teach before, you also know that I hate that.
AVS Media Demo.
I hate the do's and don'ts. You shouldn't have rules because rules are meant to be broken. Okay, but you got to know them first, and you have to be able to kind of see what a good pose and bad pose is. So today, as we start, we'll be talking about the essentials just for posing.
AVS Media Demo.
We'll also be talking about things like just a little bit about analyzing body types, some better ways to pose certain body types. Also a little bit about maybe, I call them problem areas. Double chins, for example.
AVS Media Demo.
And then what we're going to do for the rest of the time is little segments that's encouraging everybody out there, you guys as well, to be able to say, okay, today I have a family portrait, and watch this short segment. 15, 20, 30 minutes, something that's easy.
AVS Media Demo.
Which are great if you want to get into it more. If you've never photographed a family before, maybe you don't have 3 days. So what you're going to do is watch this 15, 30 minutes. Or boudoir, you've been asked to do your first boudoir shoot. You don't have the 3 days to do it. You watch this 15, 20-minute segment. So we're covering
AVS Media Demo.
Tons and tons of questions. Usually what I'll do, though, is I'm going to teach the segments, and I'll kind of take questions more at the end, because it's intended for everyone to be able to reference back quickly, so they get that meat first, and then get the questions later on. All right, so I'm going to jump in.
AVS Media Demo.
Ask me questions whenever you'd like. By the way, you can find me on my blog. I update regularly, and I'm very active on Facebook if anybody wants to keep in touch there. So, flattery gets you everywhere in photography. And it's true. That fundamentally
AVS Media Demo.
bring out the best in a person. And one thing that I do want to say, because this used to stress me out. Subject would show up to my studio, and they would be less than what you would call a model.
AVS Media Demo.
Whatever that may be, whatever flaw they might have. These people, they don't want you even to make them look exactly like a model, and they're not expecting that. They want you to see the beauty in them and bring that out. So don't feel
AVS Media Demo.
you need to liquefy them in Photoshop and pose them so that they disappear and you don't need to do that. Just help emphasize what they already have for assets. So flattery gets you everywhere in photography, and I actually did this the other day. There's no
AVS Media Demo.
that is straight out of camera, and it's showing what you can do with just a little bit of posing. So anyone who's not even a photographer out there, if you want to look hotter in your Facebook photos, just watch this first segment, because I'm going to
AVS Media Demo.
pose on command whenever I need to. But there's certain essentials that apply all the way across, and so we'll talk about this. This is your job, is to help bring out what that person is looking for. Bring out the best in your subjects. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about guidelines for
AVS Media Demo.
I hate the rules thing, so these are guidelines, and so feel free to break them when appropriate. For example, probably 9 times out of 10, you don't want someone's foot and leg to look gigantic in the frame, unless you're shooting
AVS Media Demo.
in that shoe. And I've shot ads just like that, where the person's foot is as big as their head. So you learn the rules that you can apply them appropriately. Rules are meant to be broken. And this is what I recommend for you. So many photographers are trying
AVS Media Demo.
to do unique poses. I mean, you don't really even need unique poses. Master the essentials first. And honestly, like, I have 5-10 poses for each subject that I go to every time. Like, you don't need 50.
AVS Media Demo.
You don't need 200 poses. You need 5 that you can tweak for a little bit of variety, and then knowing how to flatter your subject. So don't freak out. You don't need to know all these different poses. Get the essentials and then just tweak for your subject. So what I do on a shoot,
AVS Media Demo.
and you start with a safe and boring pose. Like, keep it safe, keep it very simple. Just try to flatter your subject. And then once you know you got the shot, then go ahead and try something different. But don't start off right away with the girl's head.
AVS Media Demo.
It'll just kind of stress the person out. So I start off keeping them relaxed and comfortable, because then they're like, okay, this isn't going to be so painful. Even if the pose becomes more painful later on, at least they don't know that's coming on later on. So I do the expected and
AVS Media Demo.
I do in my shoots anyway. So my recommendation to you is to master 5 poses for each different type of subject. And so that is exactly what we're going to do. For the next 2 days, what I will do is I'll introduce a subject and give you first
AVS Media Demo.
that subject. It's not 5 poses, but it's things to watch for. Watch out for mergers. Watch out for them leaning back too far. Things like that. Different guidelines for the subjects. And then I'm going to give you 5 different poses for each subject. So if you come
AVS Media Demo.
to your studio, you've got some place to go. All right, so we will definitely start with that. Another misconception is about posing being extravagant. So I'm a fashion photographer, and I photograph amazing professional
AVS Media Demo.
and beginners that have never been photographed before. And so I need to figure out how to pose them. People think like, oh, posing models is easy. No, because they show up and half the time they're just pretty, and then they don't know how to pose. And so I don't need.
AVS Media Demo.
I want to show you a couple of my favorite images, because the rest of the time here, I'm going to show you really boring, ugly ones, because they're like against a white background with flat light, and then I feel bad as a photographer, so I have to show you. But some of my favorite
AVS Media Demo.
posing real quick. So for example, okay, so how extravagant is this pose? It's not. She has her hand on a tree branch. Because looking at this, there is so much going on in that frame.
AVS Media Demo.
So a lot of times when there's crazy hair and makeup, I mean, the pose is just, it takes it too much and trying too hard. So one of my recent images that I just created, it's a girl looking over her shoulder at you. And then my
AVS Media Demo.
ever supposed to do. You ready? I love that pose. This one. Flat-footed, hands by your side. I mean, when you're photographing like extremely tall, skinny models, that one works, and I go for like creepy, and they kind of stare at the camera. Okay.
AVS Media Demo.
How to do, but that would be one of my favorites. Another topic that I'll address later as well is, here's my little demo. Ready? A portrait pose is different from a glamour pose. Is different from
AVS Media Demo.
different types of posing, so there's not one right answer on that.
What is it about that pose that you like, about that straightforward, just standing there?
Sure.
Why do you like breaking the rules, Lindsay?
Okay, because for breaking the rules in that case, when
AVS Media Demo.
it starts introducing an element of that personality of that individual. If I just have them standing there, it's more surreal. It's this bizarre environment. You're paying attention to the environment in the moment versus like, as soon as someone's posed sexy,
AVS Media Demo.
their sexiness versus the surreal moment you've created. So that's why, I mean, my posing varies drastically, and there really isn't kind of a right answer for that.
How do you like to relax your really, really nervous people that you're posing?
AVS Media Demo.
That I recommend, and I know this is not really something everybody can do. If you can have a conversation with your subject beforehand in any way, one-on-one, just chatting, then they relax because they know you. And most people, what they do is
AVS Media Demo.
sit down. And it's really uncomfortable. You have your guard up not even because of photography at that point, but because you don't know that person. So your guard is up twice as much. So you have to break down two barriers. Your barrier to that person and then their barrier to the camera. So what I
AVS Media Demo.
fashion photographer is we have hair and makeup for 2 hours. So I sit down and I talk to the person and I figure out who they are, where are they from, I figure out what they're passionate about, and I kind of have that interaction with them because then I can break down that.
AVS Media Demo.
We've already been laughing, we've already been talking, and so it makes it easier for me to pose them. So that would definitely be initial one.
That's cool. Thank you. And I want to give a shout out to Dan Troutman, who sent that question in via our chat room.
Wonderful. Love it. So, Lindsay, when you're posing someone,
AVS Media Demo.
you're looking for, as you're looking at a person and trying to figure out where their problem areas are.
Okay, so one of the very first things I do when looking at a person, but really when talking to them, is I try to figure out what they like
AVS Media Demo.
or what I appreciate most about them. And that's part of what I'm going to get into in a second. I'm going to talk about figuring out what someone's strengths are. But a trick is that most women, and guys as well, they part their hair.
AVS Media Demo.
So for people that don't know, a lot of times, well, most of us are not even. We're asymmetrical. And that's one of the things that makes like a professional model is they have perfect symmetry, or most of them do. But you can kind of judge based on that side of the
AVS Media Demo.
I can cover the side that I like less. I mean, basically. And have you seen those like memes on the internet where like the person looks this way, they're hot, and they look this way, and you're like, ooh. They exist.
It's a great example.
AVS Media Demo.
Awesome. Okay, so as I was saying, it doesn't need to be extravagant, so don't try to make it over the top. Keep it simple to start off with. And so here's a recent shoot that I did. I don't think that doing something extravagant would have added to this photo. You could perhaps
AVS Media Demo.
the extent of it. Or this is one of my favorite photographs. And it's kind of that pose. I mean, the only difference is she's kind of stepping towards you. But basically, it is the straight on towards camera, unposed pose. But there's so much going on, you don't need something.
AVS Media Demo.
But now that I've said that, I mean, posing is another tool that you have as a photographer. And especially when it comes to portraits, when really it's not about personal expression, it's literally about making that subject look better or making the clothes look better. Being able to
AVS Media Demo.
complicated poses is definitely helpful. And I have a lot of base poses that I go back to over and over again. Like here's some of my fashion work. Although they're not the same, they kind of started off similarly. I would start them, I'd say, okay, kick your foot.
AVS Media Demo.
In the same place, and then I just move pieces. It's not like I memorize 50 different poses. I start them in the same pose I like, and then tweak something a little bit different. And I need to know how to pose anything and everything, because
AVS Media Demo.
too. And so whoever wants me to take their picture, if they have the money, I will. So I'm photographing men, I'm photographing for clothing lines, I'm photographing mothers and children.
AVS Media Demo.
Reality for most of us having to do that. Okay, so now here's my final caveat that he already got into. Okay, posing is one small part of an image. One small part. Lighting and lens choice.
AVS Media Demo.
Styling and the Photoshop, I mean, that makes up an image. And so know that I am stripping it down to the bare minimum. It's going to be subjects on a white background. It will not be beautiful photos. But then, I see all the time really
AVS Media Demo.
in posing books because it's a pretty picture. So what I did actually, and this is not trying to be snotty, I went out and I bought a whole bunch of posing books before teaching this class. I wanted to see what other people did. And I took those and I took big black markers and I X'd off all
AVS Media Demo.
most of the time left off with about 1/10 of the poses in posing books. Because the people aren't teaching the essentials, they're teaching these are all different poses, learn these, you need to know 50, instead of learn these essentials and tweak it.
AVS Media Demo.
Giving you an example of how it all comes together for completely drastically different images, we are going to go and focus on the essentials and nothing more. When you take a look at different poses, what makes a really different
AVS Media Demo.
couple, for example, posing together? From one pose, I can get 15 different shots by moving my feet, by changing my lens, by changing my depth of field. So
AVS Media Demo.
the reason why you don't need to know 50 poses, you just need to know how to walk around your subject. So you learn what flatters them. I'll get a nice pose, an intimate moment, and I'll just do circles around the couple. I'll stand up on my stepladder, get an angle here, I'll get down low, I'll move from the side. So again,
AVS Media Demo.
a ton of poses.